One, two, three. Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. All the episodes are on truthandtranscendence.com. I'm delighted today to welcome special guest Steve Gamlin, who's here to talk about childlike wonder, one of my favorite topics, and other things too. As the Motivational Firewood Guy, Steve blends back to basics positivity, visualization, and humor, teaching his clients to see their desired outcomes, understand their why, and build action plans to achieve them. He delivers this as a keynote speaker through his Ultimate Life Vision Learning Program, one-to-one and group coaching, plus live and virtual events. So he's a very busy guy. Bottom line, Steve teaches the necessary mindset to identify what your goals look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, and even taste like. And you can find Steve on stevegamlinspeaker.com, and Gamlin is Gamlin. So Steve, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Fantastic. Well, you are no stranger to talking to the camera and putting your voice out. We were talking before about you were just very present on social media. And I just love that authenticity. You were saying you create all your own content, you put it out yourself. It's absolutely real. It's absolutely fresh and present. So I just want to thank you for doing that in this day and age of canned content.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And despite some of the best well-meaning advice from business coaches and other coaches I've had, I still create all my own stuff on a daily basis. And AI cannot outdo this brain and this heart. So I figure I'm just going to keep doing that as long as I can.
Fantastic. Well, you're a shining beacon for the rest of us, Steve. So childlike wonder, you were talking about that in the pre-call. I'm going to ask you first to cast your mind back to your earliest memory of experiencing childlike wonder, not just being a child, but experiencing that beautiful childlike wonder.
It's funny, one of the memories that comes up, most people would turn their nose at, but I remember, gosh, I was just a little kid, probably maybe 4 or 5, and playing out in the yard with some friends, and I was wearing a pair of corduroy pants because, it was the early 70s, and we were running around kickball or something, and I slipped and I fell into a pile of dog crap on the lawn. And it was all into the webs of the fabric of the corduroys. It was all over the sides and the top of my shoes. Probably got some on my hands reaching for, to clean my pants off. And now I look back and I'm thinking a whole big yard, one pile of dog crap, and I managed to find it. So it still amazes me now that I just get drawn to all these things that lead to some pretty interesting and cool stories and lessons, and some of the wildest, craziest, and even some of the dumbest decisions I've ever made in my life. I now get paid to share on stage to help other people with theirs. So even a pile of dog crap woven into a pair of tan corduroys can be something meaningful for someone else.
That's the very worst combination, isn't it? You had to be wearing
It is.
both trousers that day.
Yeah.
And you were a kid. I mean, who puts their 5-year-old male child in tan-colored corduroys? I mean,
My mom and the mom of the Brady Bunch in the early 1970s, apparently they had a lot in common. So
amazing, amazing.
yeah.
So it sounds like that's kind of stayed with you, that childlike wonder. What was it like being a kid who had that point of view, surrounded by all sorts of other kids who may or may not have had that same point of view?
Yeah, I'm actually still that kid. I'm 58 years old now, and wherever I am, I just look around for interesting things where so many people are either staring at their shoes while they're walking, or even worse, staring at their phone and walking into things and just complaining about negativity and pointing out all the bad things that are going on. I look around just to see something really interesting. Um, one of my mentors, her name is Terry Levine. One of her habits or practices is finding hearts in the world every day. Things that are shaped like a heart or just something. And she looks around and she sees something in the course of her day as a heart. So I look for good, positive things in ways that I can share them. I remember just a couple of years ago, a gym that I used to go to. I work out at home now, but after I worked out, I would walk around the giant parking lot of this little shopping plaza. And there was one of those indoor trampoline places. So it was, a lot of kids and a lot of families would be there on the weekend. And outside one of the doors, I saw a piece of a broken balloon. And I turned it over. I actually went to pick it up to throw it in the trash. And the smile that had been printed on the balloon was right there on the other side. And I thought, oh my gosh, if you can have all the air taken out of you and all the fun taken out of you and still be smiling, that there's a lesson there. And I just felt so blessed that I was there to see what most people would have just thought was, oh, it's a piece of trash, just leave it. It had a smile on it. So it reminded me at my lowest times,
Yeah.
even when all the air has been knocked out of me or sucked out of me or whatever, I can still remember to bring a smile. And that's something I've shared on social media multiple times, and people always respond. And I love when they say, how do you find all these things? And they say, I just stay open and aware with childlike wonder. Like we said, what cool thing could possibly be happening right now? When you're a kid, a cardboard box is a fort, a rocket ship, a car. The imagination has never shut off, and I'm almost 60.
Well,
I
is
love
that
that.
unusual, do you think, in your experience, that's kind of stayed with you that entire period of time compared to other people you know?
Yeah, some people think I'm an idiot. And I love that. People think, oh, you're being silly, you're being this. I'm like, well, this silliness has helped me to enjoy a 10-year radio career, 7 years of stand up comedy, published 4 books, owned a DJ company for almost 30 years, and have been a speaker for more than 20 years because I just keep seeing and finding interesting things that inspire me to turn around, bounce them off a wall a different way, and share them with other people. And I've been able to make a career out of that to help others.
That's amazing. So, what's different about you, Steve? Because I think many of us have those moments of childlike wonder when we are children, but a lot of us get it kind of kicked out of us, or it's not cool, or it's this, or it's that. So, if you look at yourself, obviously you're different from that in some way. What insight do you have into how come you've maintained that? How come that stayed really present for you when perhaps for some other people it hasn't?
I think you said the answer right there. It's been either beaten out of them or pressured out of them, or they were told, "Don't be silly, don't be childish, grow up." I know many of us when we were 17, 18 years old, we got that speech from our parents or some responsible person we looked up to. Get a good job with a good company with good benefits, put your head down for 45 years, and then retire, and then you can go have fun. That model was not for me. I'm a high paced, fast, super hyper creative, got to have humor in everything. For me, keeps me going. And a lot of people would think what I've done over the years is very silly, but it's allowed me to meet the most incredible people. I've been on over 300 shows like this and had conversations with amazing people all around the world because of the way that I choose to live my life. And I never want to stop that. I used to say, I want to die laughing, but then you have to resuscitate me so I can check it off my list and then I can go again.
That's slightly disturbing, actually. That's slightly
Well,
scary.
and it does disturb some people. And believe me, I've had 4 deaths of people very close to me in the past. Actually, it all happened in about a 6-year period. And here's the thing that I choose to do versus the classic, funeral dirge type of thing in tears. I love the phrase celebration of life. And I love to share my favorite childlike wonder memories of the people that we've lost and actually celebrate and not just be sad about everything. I celebrate the fact that I get to have these people in my life for all these years and celebrate the moments and the wins and who picked me up after my losses and challenges. And, the toughest of all of these was my wife, Tina, who I lost about 18 months ago. And it was the most devastating loss of my life. But one of the things, and I have this in her handwriting, her favorite way for us to share time together was snuggling, cuddling, and being silly, dancing around our kitchen while we were making dinner together. That is the ultimate affirmation and confirmation for me being the way that I choose to be. So I'll never stop. The part of me that Tina loved most and felt the safest with is what helped us to fall in love in the first place. So to change now would be a disservice to the 6,386 days, that's 17 and a half years, that we got to be in love.
That's so beautiful. And I'm so sorry for your loss, Steve.
Thank you.
That is very sad. But I love how what you're demonstrating there is that by you being fully who you are, you were able to connect with somebody in a way that was really lasting because it was real, as opposed to you pretending to be somebody else, which I think is very common, isn't it? There's that thing of, okay, people go on a dating site and if they're a man, they make themselves a couple of inches taller, a bit fitter. Women,
Yep.
increase their bust size, whatever it is, people, or they say they're younger. And then they wonder why the subsequent relationships are a bit, rocky. They're really alive.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that out there. Oh my gosh. We live in the most filtered times I think we've ever experienced as a human race. And I just wish more people could just be real with each other. And it's sad to see when people have to pad their stats and change and make themselves sound great on paper, and then you meet them. They could be wonderful people, but the expectation they put out there and the image and all of that, I mean, we see it on social media all the time. Come on, there are people out there who look like a piece of waxed fruit. They don't even look human anymore. And then you meet them and you're going, "Oh, yeah, just be real." I mean, I've got a wonderful photographer that I work with, and I told her, I said, "Look, this is all I got, from the neck up to work with. Do your best." And oh my gosh, she captured probably among the only photos I've ever actually loved of me in my life. And I've dealt with confidence issues and horrific self-talk over the years and all these things that I've been working on for a while now. I absolutely love being real. Somebody said, "Steve, you know, what about this and this and this?" And they said, "You used to have a really great head of like rock star hair." I'm like, "Yeah. Well, the stress of the past 18 months since losing Tina has caused more gray and more of them to jump ship. And you know what? This is who I am today. And that's okay."
Amazing. So just going back slightly in your story, or you were saying that, yeah, a lot of people get this kind of kicked out of them and they get pressured and told they're supposed to be a certain way. Did you not have that happen to you, or did you have that happen to you, but you didn't let it stop you? What was your kind of story in relation to that? Because I think I'm thinking about the listeners now, we've got people listening to this who maybe have experienced those sorts of pressures and are wondering, what do you do about that? And are wondering, okay, was this guy just blessed, that everyone was amazing to him his whole life? Or did you actually have to encounter some of those pressures? And if you did, how did you deal with those?
Yeah. Well, I still had those pressures. I mean, I went and did a 4-year college after high school, had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Um, and I barely even had a memory that when I was 11, I wanted to be a radio DJ, a stand-up comedian, an author of my own books, and a teacher of people, but not in a classroom. And those are just, childlike, fantasy, whatever, dream jobs. I went and did the 4-year college after high school. I graduated by 62 one thousandths of a point. which means I had to call the day before and say, "Hi, my name is Steve Gamlin. Am I supposed to even show up tomorrow? Did I make it? Am I in pencil on the list because I made it at the last second?" And they said, "Yeah, yeah, you graduated barely." And then I kind of sat wondering what to do with my life. I was working with my dad, helping him with his carpentry business, but I knew that's not what I wanted to do for a career. It's a very rough way to make a living. It's very difficult. And I was living broken, depressed on my grandfather's couch at age 24. And one of my dear friends, Danny, was a year younger, and he asked, "Why didn't you ever get on the radio like you said you wanted to do all these years? You know, you always talked about it." And in the summer of '92, I borrowed $4,000 from my grandfather, whose couch I was living on, broken, depressed. Good luck getting that money back, Pep. Went to broadcast school, summer of '92, 8-week course. A month later, got an internship at a rock station that we'd grown up listening to. And I drove down to Danny's house because I hadn't seen him all summer. And he asked, "Where you been?" I said, "Radio school." He went, "Did you get a job?" I said, "Well, I got an internship." And of course, I got the "I told you so" speech. He was very proud. And 3 weeks later, Danny passed away. He had cancer. He had gone into remission twice, and it came back very quickly and took him like that. And despite pressure from some people around me who, of course, were concerned, here I am dropping everything, including a college degree, to go chase a job of being in on radio, which pays minimum wage pretty much anyway. But nobody tried to talk me out of it. My dad actually told me, he goes, "Look, you just busted your butt to get in that door. Now bust it even harder to not get thrown back out." And that was one of the greatest bits of advice. And that was his approval. As concerned as my parents were for me chasing this wild dream, that stuck with me, and it still does, to just pick what you want to do. And if you're serious about it, work harder than anyone else. Get really good at it and believe in yourself along the way. Now, that self-belief took a lot of years to come for me. I wasn't actually an on-air DJ until year number 8 of a 10-year career because I didn't have any confidence in my voice. I was an off-air producer, copywriter, comedy writer. Did everything but speak on the mic because I didn't have any confidence. And in my last 2 years of radio, because I had to, I got on the mic. And I was terrible. But on the 5th day, when I was sure the boss was going to come down and say, "Okay, this little noble experiment isn't going to work," at 5 minutes to 7 in the morning, I just get on and went, "Hey, everybody, New Hampshire's Classic Rock, Big 101.5, Steve here. You know I may suck as a DJ, but if you tolerate me reading the weather for the next 42 seconds, I'll play you a kick-ass rock song." And it just fell out like that, and my boss came, knocked on the door, and he looked at me and he said, "That was the coolest thing you said all week. Brother, just be yourself." That was 27 years ago, and here we are, just being myself.
Beautiful. So you've really been up and down, and you've really been through it,
Oh, yeah.
which is actually,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to say that's great to hear, right? I'm going to say
It
it's a
actually
great,
is now.
it's exactly, it's a great reminder, that this,
Yeah.
we talk about childlike wonder, and I think sometimes we think, oh, if I connect to that, I won't have any problems. But you've had just as many problems as other people, maybe more in some regards, but you've navigated it differently. Is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I think the biggest difference is I celebrate and talk about my problems. Now, I used to talk about them, and basically the closing line would be, "Because I'm an idiot." But now I just say, "Look, I'm not afraid to take on the next challenge." There's a big reason why one of my main keynote stage stories is called "Some Days Your Phoenix Rides a Pogo Stick," meaning up and down out of the ashes. And I'm just not afraid to talk about the stories. Now, I used to do them in a very self-deprecating way, which I do not recommend.
Mm.
But now I just look back and say, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I did this. And I'm here because I went through that, because I made that decision that did not turn out to be a very wise one, because I lost all that money, because my first marriage ended, because I walked away from a radio career without a full-time job and no plans right around the same time as my divorce and wound up living with family. That's how all of this came about. I literally spent $3 on a bucket of golf balls one day at a driving range next to a mini golf place just to get out frustrations. And I wound up hitting golf balls for an hour in a thunderstorm under power lines, barefoot in the wet grass, which is about the stupidest thing you could do in those weather conditions. And the next day, a life coach I just started working with asked, "How was your week?" I told him that story, and he asked one more question. Have you ever thought about being a motivational speaker or a stand-up comedian? I think you'd be really good at both. He didn't know about my goals when I was 11, but he actually just inspired me to go chase two of them. And within a month, I was pursuing both.
Wow.
Up and down, back and forth. I still have the golf club I have never hit in a thunderstorm again.
No kidding. Well,
Never.
I want to thank you for that really, really open flavor. I feel like you've painted this really colorful picture that is sort of disturbing and exciting and beautiful and sad and all these different things. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
I know that you're comfortable with doing that now. You do that now, and it's really beautiful. If somebody wants to become, obviously you're you, I'm me, everyone's their own person. If somebody is attracted by that story in the sense of they'd like to become more able to increase their capacity to share in that kind of way, what would you say to somebody like that who feels like, oh, I'd love to share more in that way, but I can't. I'm frightened to, I wouldn't know how to begin to do that. What would you say to them?
My first thing that I suggest to them is the first thing that I did back in the early 2000s. Grab a couple of pens and a notebook. Either shut off, unplug, or leave in the car, all things electronic. Go sit somewhere quiet and just pour your heart out, pour your guts out, what you appreciate and enjoy most about your life, what you really wish was different in your life, who you wish to become. See, so many people talk about the future as what they want to get. For me, it's more about who you want to become. What are things about yourself, your characteristics, your behavior, the way you talk to yourself, the way you talk about yourself? What is the dream version of yourself? And just as fast as you can write and handwrite it, don't text it to yourself. Because when you handwrite, you're actually using both halves of your brain. Get it all out there. Design the best version of yourself. And I don't care if you burn it when you're done because you're afraid to let anybody see it. But get a really good picture of who you want to become, who you want to be more like, who are your heroes, what about them inspires you. And don't say that they drive nicer cars. Pick heroes who are living the type of life and being the type of person you wish to be. And start to think of those characteristics as that version of yourself you create as the ultimate point B. Brutally honest about where your life is right now, point A. Don't just say it stinks. Be honest. There's your point A, there's your point B. Now, watch and observe and study all of your heroes to see how they share themselves with the world in the way that you want to. Watch how they do it. Interact with them on social media. Comment, like, do whatever, ask questions. You never know. One of them might answer and give you that nugget that you can take and apply to add to the spark in your heart to pursue that level. But you got to be brutally honest with yourself. Don't just say, this stinks, I want something different, because you could wander in circles. It's like those Roomba vacuums, the little robot ones that go around your house and clean. Well, the first generation of those, they weren't very smart. All they knew was if you bumped into something, just go somewhere else. They're smarter now. They'll actually cover the entire room. But back then, they just kind of bonked into something and just wandered off somewhere else. Don't be like the first generation Roomba. Be the person who knows where you want to go and describe it. And it goes back to, as you said in the introduction, where it goes look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like. Create a full-on experiential essence of what you want your life to be using all your senses. It's pretty wild when you do. I mean, I get to teach this, and this is a quick conversation, but everything I say is because I've done it.
I love that. So you're combining the clarifying of what you want with the being, as you say, brutally honest about where you are now, and then looking at your heroes and how do they share themselves in the world.
Mhm.
That's, I can't really see that failing, actually. That sounds really, that
Yeah.
sounds like that really works.
And sometimes we find out that the people we thought were our heroes are actually real jerks, and then we learn how not to be.
Yeah.
Because they get their filters on as a great human being and a great person. Then you find out they're really not. And that's okay. Just don't be like what you thought you wanted to be like. That's all.
Or maybe they're embodying something really amazing and also embodying some things that are not so great.
Yeah.
So, you can actually, because again, there's lots of, I think sometimes we have the illusion that somebody is either 100% great or 100% evil, which,
Right.
that's kind of not really true, is it?
Yeah.
So we're drawn to what we're drawn to. So how did you get from radio, stand-up comedy, going through all these incredible developmental experiences you went through, etc.? How did you then segue from there into starting to work with people and helping them to transform their lives in the way that you are now?
Oh, it was really simple and completely unplanned. I put my own life back together, and I took a lot of notes. And when people started to see that I was creating success in my life, they would reach out and say, "Hey, Steve, I'm going through this right now. Um, what would you suggest?" And I wound up creating a program called Vision Board Mastery, which is now being relaunched this year as Ultimate Life Vision. Everything I did just came from my own notes and my own journals of try, fail, try, fail, try, fail, try, fail, try, fail, try. Ooh, that looked like it worked a little. It didn't fail. And I journal like a madman over the years. And as people started to reach out individually, you can only help so many people with the time you have. So that's when I started to create programs and videos and some of the things I share on stage. There's a company that has hired me, I believe next January is going to be the 18th or 19th year in a row to teach what I teach to their entire company.
Wow.
So it started off from helping one or two people to me working with my mentors saying, okay, look, my time is limited. So how do I help more people? And they guided me to create programs and memberships and group coaching communities and things like that.
Amazing. And did you work with coaches along the way? Did you have advisors and mentors along the way?
Always, always. The times that I've done my best are when I've had coaches because coaches have coaches and mentors and guides. And one of the worst things I ever attempted to do was do it all myself. And it's a recipe for disappointment. And people would say, well, how can that be a bad thing? And I always say the same thing. And I don't mean this to be self-deprecating because I'm just not like that anymore. When you've got something you want to do and you watch 20 different YouTube videos on how to do it and you feel dumber after watching all those videos,
I know
hire
that
someone
feeling.
to do it. I've driven myself crazy over the years saying, I need to do it. I need to do it. And I've, in the past year, I've had all new headshots done. I mean, I flew 1,800 miles to meet with my favorite photographer in the world for one day in near Dallas, Texas, and I'm up in New Hampshire, Northeast US. Had a new website built. I'm now working with a company that does the entire CRM and all the things behind the scenes of my website. I could not do this stuff myself, and I'm in a better place now than I've ever been in business because I remember the lesson of one of my mentors, the late great Lonnie Robinson. We lost him in early 2021. Um, And he always said, bro, stop trying to do it yourself. I've seen your skill set. You ain't got it. and Lonnie,
Fantastic.
he always told me, he goes, look, good enough is better than perfect. Because if you're waiting for perfect, you're never going to publish that article. You're never going to record that podcast. You're never going to do that video. He had a video on a sales page of his website he recorded in his car sitting in a parking garage down in near the Washington, D.C. area. And I'm listening to it, of course, me being a sound production guy in my own recording studio. I go, oh my gosh, Lonnie, that audio is terrible. I go, and at the 48-second mark, I think somebody in the parking lot got shot. And he goes, I don't care. It makes me a ton of money. It's good enough.
Yeah.
And now not that I want anybody getting shot in a parking garage, but Lonnie was right.
Yeah.
It's good enough. Just put it out there. The world will tell you if it's good enough. If it makes money, it's good enough. If you see ways to improve it while leaving it there for a while, it's good enough.
Nice. So if somebody is again on their path of growth and learning and everything else, and they're thinking, yeah, I can do it all on my own because otherwise I'm a failure and a loser and not proper man, or whatever they're thinking.
Yeah.
How do they know when it is time to reach out and get some help?
When it's making them not do anything. Like I've completely my boat, my truck, my train have all just completely stopped and slammed on the brakes, sometimes for weeks, even months at a time. Now I'm busy. I'm shuffling papers or doing something all day long, but I'm not making any progress at all. And when you feel like that is what's happening to you, just find somebody to tackle one thing. Find somebody who's out there a little bit higher up the ladder than you are in your skill set, in your confidence, in your whatever, and just ask them, hey, how do you do all this? And that's how I found my web designer. That's how I found the person who does my CRM. That's how I found my photographer. Because I was just trying to do these, set up my camera and the timer and pose for a selfie. That wasn't getting me anywhere. I was taking 30, 40 pictures that I hated. I flew 1,800 miles for one day and got 16 of my favorite photos ever taken of me. It was an investment. But I had them within 2 weeks, and I've been using them ever since to my advantage.
And I've seen some of them online. They're great. They're very good.
Yeah.
So, it does matter. Steve, this is fantastic. I can only imagine that you're a fantastic person to work with. And I imagine you don't let people wallow in unhappiness and stuckness. Is that correct?
I do my best not to, because as a person who's dealt with depression on and off throughout my life, ADD, some OCD, in just, I see the traps of it all. And so people ask me, well, Steve, how do you deal with it? I say, well, when all those letters in the alphabet are ganging up on me and I'm not getting anything done, I get in my truck, I drive 10 minutes, 15 minutes into town, and I commit a couple of very simple acts of kindness, and I always come home different and better. And it reminds me that interacting with other people and their energy and having childlike wonder, when you're stuck in your office and you're staring at the same problem over and over and over and it's getting bigger, get away from it. You're not outrunning it, and you're not denying it exists. Just get out and connect. Human connection is one of the things that we are sorely missing right now. And it's crippling people's confidence, their self-worth. It's affecting their self-talk. It's affecting their moods. It's affecting how they talk to that person in their mirror. Even if you're not, I'm by nature an introvert. I really am. Most people laugh when I say that, but I am. I get out and I have the simplest of connections. I hold a door for someone. I smile at somebody. I say thank you. I love to tell people, I hope I'm the meanest, nastiest person or customer you have to deal with the rest of your shift. And they laugh. And they say, boy, I hope so too. And I said, well, good. Let's set the bar really high.
I've actually done
Those
something
moments.
a couple of times. If I've been on one of those calls, where you keep being shuffled from one person to the next and no one's helping you, and I've become slightly irritable,
Yeah.
and then they have helped me. And then I've actually said, I hope that all your other customers today are more enjoyable than I was. And they just burst out laughing. They're really surprised.
Yeah.
That's
I
exactly.
love that. I mean, I've even asked people before, I go, are you the same person who can just do a lot of different voices, or are you actually somebody different? And they laugh. And I said, well, the last person had a British accent. Go ahead, try it. And I'll tell you if you were the same person. And then they laugh because they have difficult jobs. See, we forget, we think that we're the only ones having a bad day. When you can get two people who might be struggling, that's why I never know what somebody else is going through. And I do my best to not make their day worse in any way. And if I have a legitimate, serious problem, I will start off by saying, look, you didn't cause this. So let's get through this together. And then I'll say, like, I want to be the worst person you deal with all day. And I make them laugh by the end of the call.
Excellent. So that's a completely unexpected bit of free advice for everybody listening on dealing with a situation with a service person where you're complaining or there's a problem. That's actually a very good strategic way of doing it. And it links back to the thing of the act of kindness that you were saying, of just gets us out of our head and out of the trap that we're in.
Yeah. And that falls under childlike wonder again. I wonder how this situation could be improved. I've literally sat on hold for 20 minutes with somebody and they were trying to figure out a problem and they kept coming back saying, I am so sorry. We're trying to do this. I mean, even after losing Tina, I literally, in less than a year, I had over easily 1,000 hours of phone calls to track down information and all of these things. And they kept apologizing, sir, we know you're going through this terrible thing that we would never wish on anybody. And you've been so patient and this and that. And I said, oh my gosh, you should have seen this squirrel that just tried to climb up into the feeder outside my office window. I put a slinky on the pole. The fattest squirrel jumped up and he went boing, 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 bouncing his butt off the ground. And then he fell. Then a skinny one ran up and ate all the birdseed. And now the person on the phone is cracking up saying, this is the wildest thing I've heard all day. And I said, well, good, because you have a difficult job. And I'm glad that me sharing that little moment helped you. And then they always so graciously and gracefully dealt with me for the rest of my call.
How beautiful.
Just be human. Be human to other humans. Be humane, I should say, to other humans.
Beautiful. Steve, I could talk to you all day. It's just so much fun and uplifting. You've got the word inspire behind you, at least listeners who can't see this. The word inspire. Talking to you is really inspiring. But I'm going to ask you a couple of kind of wind-up questions before we finish.
Sure.
So one of them is, some of the types of people that get attracted to this, listening to this particular show, are people who are out there doing their best to be part of the solution, doing their best to lead, serve, support, heal, coach, etc., in this complicated, interesting world that we're in right now. So some of those people are listening to us right now. Is there something you'd like to say to them in particular in relation to what we've been talking about today?
Yes, this is a lesson I learned by observing one of my grandfathers, and he never actually verbalized it, but he lived it. Leave as many situations as you can every day a little better than you found them. Basically, be a human plus sign. And the most beautiful part about that is I own the factory of plus signs right here in my heart. I'll never run out. So everywhere I go, I look for an opportunity to leave it a little better than I found it. And some people say, well, I don't have time. Next time you go shopping somewhere, if you happen to see a shopping cart, a trolley, it's what it's called in other parts of the world, or carriage.
Exactly.
Return it. Don't complain about why some lazy person left it there, because you don't know what they're dealing with that day. Return it to the store. And if you don't need it, offer it to somebody else. Go into used car mode. Excuse me, do you need a carriage? This one's a rescue. I've already cleaned the hand grip and the wheels hardly wobble. I think you're going to like it. Nobody has ever said no if they actually needed one. No one has ever said no, and they're laughing. That's how you change the world, because you never know where the ripples go. Stop thinking it's all about elections and social programs and all of these other things. Be a human plus sign. Be a plus one everywhere you go. And you will, in some small way from now until the ripples build up, you will change the world.
Yeah, I believe you. Let's remind people where to find you, which is stevegamlinspeaker.com. Gamlin is Gamlin. Steve, we've talked about a lot today, and I know there's so much more there. And I hope that some of the listeners will contact you, because I can only imagine you're just a fantastic person to work with and very uplifting. And God knows we all need help some of the time. And let's reach out for it when we need it. Has there been for you a favorite part of our conversation today?
Oh my gosh, I could talk to you all day long as well. It's, and I've been on more than 300 shows all around the world. And a show like this is my absolute favorite because it is effortless. We are two friends sitting on a front porch, sharing a heart to heart, completely wide open conversation. And your listeners just happen to be right there on the front lawn, maybe having a picnic, enjoying it, not running around in corduroys, slipping into a dog mess, but they're right here with us. And I say this all the time. I go, when I'm on stage, I said, look, we're all at the same level here. I'm not talking down at you other than the fact that I'm 6'2" and standing on a stage. We're all together in this. We're connecting eye to eye, heart to heart, hand to hand, hug to hug, word to word, feeling to feeling, emotion to emotion. If we keep thinking that way, we're going to be okay. And we just exemplified that throughout our time in our conversation. So we're just here being two plus signs going exponential in this world where people really need some hope.
Beautiful. Well, you've definitely been a plus sign for me today, Steve. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. It's been really fun and also really educational and inspiring for me. So thank you so much.
Oh my
And
gosh, thank you.
I'm going to say thank you to everybody watching and listening as well, because sometimes these conversations, yeah, they're lovely, juicy, beautiful conversations, but sometimes they're a little bit challenging to stay with all the way through to the end, because we start to remember things and reflect on things and notice things about ourselves. And sometimes we touch on a little bit of dissatisfaction or a little bit of desire. I really want something, or a yearning or a calling. And staying in that experience is so this is one of the things I loved about you, Steve, having the experiences you were having as you went and not running away from them,
Mm.
living it through and then talking about it. That is just such a gift to
No,
people.
thank you. Thank you.
So
That's the only way I know how to be. And I told my sister recently, someday on my headstone it's going to read, "It was a little wobbly, but it still kind of worked."
yeah, well, I think that's probably the best any of us can say. So everyone, do check out Steve's website. Contact him if you feel that you're in a place where you'd like some of that help. And if you think that I'm someone you might want to work with, go and check out the show notes and book a clarity call. I'll talk to anyone about anything. So if you feel drawn to this particular vibe, get in touch. Thanks again, Steve, so much. Have a fantastic day.